It just drags a lot of particles along with its flow, cutting down the trees. We call it deforestation. The animal in the jungle, it could be social animal, any living creature. Indian agriculture depends on rainfall, especially we Indians. Hello, hi, namaste and welcome to Vidhyaashram, first grade college, the temple of excellence. I am Nandakishore, faculty of English in Vidhyaashram, MYSURU. In my previous session, I had discussed the prose prescribed to first semester BCom and B.B.A, MYSURU University, and the prose is titled as Water, the Elixir of Life. In today's session, in session 2, I am going to continue what C.V. Raman has spoken about the elixir of life, so-called water. Let us see what he further discusses in his essay. We know that in previous session I have spoken plenty about the facts of water, and why C.V. Raman is emphasizing so much on conservation of water. And he says that water, it carries, it just drags a lot of particles along with its flow. There is a fast current which can drag plenty of things, and most importantly, it also carries the mud which usually converts or changes into silt. And he goes on talking about the same topic. The color of the water changes successively from the muddily red or brown of silt through varying shades of yellow and green, finally to the blue of the deep sea. Now he's talking about how the water which drags the mud. But remember, you might be wondering, sir, I don't see the water always muddy red or brown, but most of the times when the water dries up in the channel or in the canal or in the river, yes, it is usually muddy red or brown, and if there is a swift flow of the water, it usually gets red. And where does it reach actually? It's not from the river or the canal, even when there is too much of flood. We have seen how the floods were affecting Kerala and top in India, Kedarnath. Think about it. It was completely red or brown. And where does this water reach? Finally, it ends up reaching the deep sea. But before it reaches there, it has to turn to some other colors, yellow and green. And then it finally gets blue in deep sea. A large land is formed by silt, thus deposited. There is a land, and this mud, this silt is very, very helpful for the farmers, and there will be a lot of contract given to the people who will excavate, who will dig out, who will export this silt. And it is sort of like, a huge amount of mineral deposited down there. And he says such land is very fertile. It is very handy. The flow of water plays a great part in this process. Sometimes it can be destructive also. Remember the floods in Kedarnath and in Kerala and in Tamil Nadu as well. Excessive rain, too much of rain, and the crops. And why do we need rain, first of all? Or why do we need water to survive? It can give life and it can take life. So the ample amount of water, too much, excessive, it can take away life. And no water, it can take away life. So it is both pros and cons, positive and negative. You have to know to what extent you have to have water in order to be alive, in order to make something useful. If it decreases, dead. If it increases, dead. Too much of problem. Now he talks about the problem of soil erosion. The problem of soil erosion is of major significance. And one of the reasons why soil erosion is too much these days, it's because of cutting down the trees. We call it deforestation. Cut the trees. Why? Because it's a process where the roots of the trees will go deep down and the trunk of the tree will usually stop the sand from flowing away freely. I'm not saying just because there is abundance of woods in the forest or in and around our ambience or surroundings, there will be no soil erosion. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it will stop, it will reduce the amount of soil which will be flown freely towards the rivers and from river to ocean, which is going utterly waste. And it says the problem of soil erosion is of major significance. It is very important and we need to plant trees. It occurs in step by step. So it is occurring step by step. How? The cutting up and washing away of earth will make agriculture impossible. The cutting up and washing away of earth. What we do is, we dig Mother Earth. It is like getting into the womb of earth. We dig for minerals, we dig for mines, we dig for diamonds, we dig for silver, we dig for a lot of atoms. And this will eradicate, this will eventually take away this fertile land. And that is why he says soil erosion. It will make agriculture impossible. Now, you might be wondering why this soil erosion and agriculture is very important here. Imagine we are digging the womb of Mother Earth for what? For money, of course. But after a few years, if you see there is no fertile land to grow any crop, what are you going to eat? The silver? The gold you have dug? The diamonds you have dug? Is it what you consume? What are we going to eat? That is why C.V. Raman says it is very important, agriculture. Sudden burst of excessively heavy rain resulting in a large run of surplus water are the principal factor in causing soil erosion. Sudden burst. If there is steady rainfall, what happens? The land will absorb the water, and inside the earth, the crust, yes, there are wells inside. There are porous, empty land, empty area, which will be occupied by this water which has drained inside, which helps our land to be more fertile. It helps to provide more water for future generation. It helps from not happening earthquakes. It stops. Sudden burst, too dangerous. Just like Kedarnath flood. Sudden burst of excessively, it is not just heavy rain, excessively what is required and what is not required. More than that, heavy rain resulting in a large run of surplus water are the principal, it is one of the main factors, principal factor in causing soil erosion. Soil erosion is dangerous to agriculture. He says it is very dangerous because it is going waste. What are we going to grow inside the sea? We are not going to grow anything. We're not growing there. But has that soil been deposited on earth, anywhere on earth, not inside the land, in the water? No, it will help the farmer. This is too dangerous to agriculture. Some measures can be taken to check soil erosion. They are terracing of the land, construction of bunds. These bunds are where we say like there will be lot of crops grown there, and just across this land, these are called bunds, right? The area, a small narrow passage where you can walk on the land, that is called bunds. So it will help to remain the soil intact inside that area. Bunds to check the flow of water. The practice of contour cultivation, it is like, cultivation in a shape, a particular shape where you can just preserve the soil inside. Cultivation and the planting of appropriate plants. Even this is very important. Plant a plant, it will help you. So he says even planting of appropriate, not any plants, appropriate. most suitable according to the geographical area, geographical condition. And then he says, water is a basis of all life. It is a basis. Without it, no life. Every animals and plants contain water in this body, in its body. As I told you, more than 70% of us is of water. No activity is possible without water. Water is necessary for animal life. Animal in the sense not the animal in the jungle. It could be social animal, any living creature. The moist in the soil is necessary for the growth of plants and trees. He says the moist, without it, nothing can grow. So, in order to grow from the seed, the sand has to be moist. The moist land, which will have a lush green, abundance in greenery. So, the conservation and utilization of water is most important for human welfare. Welfare, the words are carefully chosen, and he says, in order to progress in one's life, you need to be very attentive, very careful, and you need to know that you are going to flourish in your life. Without water, you cannot. And then, Indian agriculture depends on rainfall, especially we Indians. And somebody told in sociology that agriculture is the backbone of India. Where is it today? The farmers are depreciating. They are giving up farming. They want to come down to urban and semi-urban and metropolitan city, and they want to take up a petty jobs where the hands who fed millions of people, it is being tied up today. The farmer is not gaining any profit out of what is growing. The middlemen, they are making profits. Throughout the year, the farmer gets down or gets in the land. He tills the land, he sows, he grows the product. But ultimately, who is the benefactor here? The middleman. But somehow, there is something else which is affecting the farmers. Soil erosion. Indian agriculture depends on rainfall. The problems of soil erosion and irregular rainfall, which are the two factors where the Indian farmer is dying and killing himself today, are closely connected with each other. He says, now how to retain this soil erosion, how to stop, how to retain this fertility of the soil. Let us inculcate, let us continue, let us develop, let us adopt the old ways of cultivating the land. What happens when you adopt to modern ways of cultivating? You use pesticides, you use chemicals, you use a lot of insecticides which will harm the healings. And this irregular rainfall, why does it happen? Pollution. Yes, carbon dioxide released. No rainfall in the right season. And the seasons are changing drastically. Green gas emission, and then this will definitely affect the farmer who grows food and the food which is consumed by so-called civilized and modern people. So how long do you live? Question about it. They are closely connected. By preventing soil erosion, we can conserve and keep the water where it is wanted. And remember, this question, soil erosion, could be asked for 10 marks in your examination. So you should know about soil erosion. And it says, by preventing soil erosion, we can conserve and keep the water where it is wanted, where it has to be. Wanted, possibly, to the agriculturists. So, the collection and utilization of rainwater is very important, where we Indians have never adopted any measures to counterattack. For lack of water, we only let it flow freely. How many of our houses have this overhead tank so that it can store rainwater, or just a sump below the earth which is dug and which is mandatory today? How many of you have it? And how many of you know how to preserve rainwater, which is very helpful? Most of us don't. So he says that it is very important. Much of the water flows down the streams and rivers, and thus a large quantity of water is lost. It is lost, it is completely wasted. Let us not waste it. And remember, if we can save it, large quantity, if we can save it, definitely we are going to flourish as one nation. Vast area of land could be turned into fertile and prosperous country by courageous and well-planned action, as I told you. Vast area. It has become barren land, wasteland. If we can save the water, definitely we can just become the country which will prosper, flourish. The systematic planting of suitable trees is the urgent need. He says urgent need. It was written back then, and now think about it. Are we planting trees now? We are chopping down millions of trees every day for some or other purpose. And how many of us are planting the seeds there? Or how many of us are planting the trees there? We are not. The saplings are crushed. We let our cattle grow. Let it eat. Let it wander in the city. Let it eat anything on everything it eats. And it can. Such plantation would directly and indirectly prove a source of wealth to the country. Of course, directly and indirectly, it is a source of country, the wealth. They would check soil erosion and conserve the rainfall of the country. Conserve it. It is very important. The trees can help in multiple ways. So that is the reason why he is calling to plant trees. Water is the commonest of liquid, but it is also the most uncommon of liquid with amazing properties. It is common and uncommon. When is it common? The commonest is we find it everywhere. And when will it become uncommon? Think about the countries like Uganda, Kenya, where they lack minimum needs. They don't have fertile land. Uncommon of liquid with amazing properties. There are a lot of principles, there are a lot of properties. These properties are responsible for its unique power and maintaining animal and plant life. Of course, this is the main reason why we are alive. Without it, we would have been dead by now. The investigation of the nature and properties of water is therefore of the highest scientific interest. As I told you, without water there is no life, and if there is Third World War, it's going to happen because of water. So this is about the pros here. Now let us see the previous year's question. They have just asked only one marker and one 10-marker question. One marker. What, according to C.V. Raman, is the true elixir of life? It is water, of course. And they have asked, write a note on soil erosion and conservation of water as suggested by C.V. Raman, which is very important. As I've discussed in this prose, in this essay, you need to write the answers there, which will fetch you more marks for sure. And I hope you know how to answer this 10-marker question. I have already discussed in my previous videos. For further instructions, for further material, you can always rely on internet. Well, there are a lot of materials available on internet as well. And don't forget that you're going to mention about the author and about the prose. Try to give the minimum information about the author and the prose, and maybe you can include the background as well if it is suitable for the answer you are writing. With that, you can definitely score more than 6 or 7 marks guaranteed. But those who are planning to score 10 out of 10, make sure that you have a good vocabulary and you have substitute words which you can be using in your answers. And make sure the answers what you write is up to the mark. And try to write at least 3 paragraphs for 10 marks. So without writing 3 paragraphs, and the content what you write should be up to the mark. So with that, I'm sure you can score more marks. So that is it for today's session. I'm going to meet you in my next session. Thank you so much. Until then, keep reading. Have a good day. Take care.